Most of what you have heard about berberine is either exaggerated or incomplete, and the part that is incomplete is the part that matters most for women over 60 specifically. After menopause, a gap opens in the satiety signal your brain depends on to tell you when you have eaten enough. Clinical research documents that this gap, driven by the loss of estrogen's role in GLP-1 receptor sensitivity, widens progressively every year without the correct intervention. By the time most women recognize it, it has been open for 3 to 5 years, not because they were not paying attention, because nobody gave it a name. It is why the meal ends and the craving returns 90 minutes later, on a schedule you could set a clock to. It is why the waistband keeps expanding, even when the food choices are careful and the effort is real. And it is why every failed attempt to close that gap through discipline alone carries an emotional weight it was never supposed to carry, because the gap was never a discipline problem. It was a biology problem, and those are different problems with different responses. I am Dr. Elizabeth Carter. I am a board-certified internal medicine physician with a fellowship in women's health and midlife medicine, and 32 years of clinical experience treating women at exactly this stage of life. What the research identifies as the most studied non-pharmaceutical activator of the same metabolic pathway that prescription GLP-1 medications target is something that most content about berberine gets wrong for postmenopausal women specifically. The form matters, the timing matters, and the one detail most women miss is why it failed the first time they tried it. In this video, I am going to show you the exact mechanism, the exact form of the extract that the clinical studies used, and the precise window of time the research documented for measurable results in women with postmenopausal physiology. If this kind of evidence-based analysis is useful to you, please subscribe. I post 2 to 3 times a week. 2 seconds. Do it now. Then stay with me, because what comes next is the correction I wish every appointment had time to make. After menopause, the signal that tells your brain you are full begins arriving late. Not because you lost discipline, not because your appetite changed, because estrogen was helping that signal travel faster. And once estrogen fell, the messenger slowed down. The meal ends. The brain has not received the message yet. And 90 minutes later, a craving arrives that feels like hunger, but is not hunger. It is a gap, a specific, measurable biological gap that has a name. It is called the GLP-1 gap. And after menopause, it widens every year without intervention. GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1, is the hormone your intestine produces to signal satiety to your brain. It is the exact hormone that prescription medications like Ozempic and Wegovy are designed to replicate pharmacologically. In women with postmenopausal physiology, this signal does not disappear. It arrives with reduced efficiency. Studies in reproductive endocrinology document that estrogen played a direct role in GLP-1 receptor sensitivity, a role that most appointments have never had time to explain. In plain terms, the same amount of food produces less satiety signal after menopause than it did before. That is not a willpower problem. That is a biology problem. And biology problems have biological responses. But the GLP-1 gap is not the only mechanism in play. Inside the cell, where glucose needs to enter to produce energy, there is a door that postmenopausal physiology closes progressively. That door is the insulin receptor. And the more precise picture of what is happening is this. A woman of 65 with a normal body mass index can carry insulin resistance equivalent to an obese woman of 40. Not because of her weight, because estrogen had a direct role in maintaining insulin receptor sensitivity, and that role ended with menopause. The scale does not show it, the cell does. Inside that same cell, there is a metabolic switch called AMPK, adenosine monophosphate activated protein kinase. When activated, AMPK opens an alternative route through which glucose enters the cell without requiring the insulin receptor. It is the emergency exit, the side door that bypasses the lock, and it is the same metabolic address that GLP-1 receptor agonist medications target, through a pharmaceutical mechanism at a pharmaceutical magnitude with pharmaceutical side effects. What the research identifies as the most studied non-pharmaceutical activator of this same pathway is a standardized extract of berberine. I want to be precise here, because this is where most content about berberine gets it wrong for women specifically. The majority of people who took berberine and felt nothing took a generic powder with undefined potency. The difference between a berberine product that produces measurable results and one that does not is almost never the compound. It is the form. Standardized extract means defined concentration, defined bioavailability, and the specific preparation that the clinical studies actually used. Not generic powder, not a diluted shelf product. The standardized extract with the potency the research required. And give it the time the research used, not 2 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks. That is the window where the studies documented measurable reduction in insulin resistance, including in studies specific to postmenopausal women. I put together the protocol I would hand to a patient walking out of my office, because I have spent 32 years watching women work harder than they ever should have had to, against a process they did not know how to name. And because most of the women in that office looked exactly like you. Before I show you where to find it, 2 women. Carol, 67, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Carol's physician was correct. Her prediabetes was mild. Ozempic was not indicated. What the appointment did not have time to explain was that the same metabolic pathway has a non-pharmaceutical activator studied in women with Carol's exact physiology. 10 weeks on standardized extract. 5 centimeters of abdominal circumference gone. The 3 o'clock craving stopped arriving. Her words, "I did not need a prescription. I needed the right key." Linda, 64, Memphis, Tennessee. Linda had taken berberine before. 6 weeks, generic powder, 0 result. With standardized extract, 12 weeks, Linda's hemoglobin A1C moved from 6.0 to 5.6. Her afternoon energy held through 5 for the first time in 4 years. Same compound, different key. The GLP-1 gap widens every year after menopause without the correct signal. The biology does not pause while you decide. GLP-1 gap creates insulin lock. Insulin lock worsens the GLP-1 gap. Over years, that cycle compounds. The protocol breaks the cycle at the pathway level, where it started, where it has been running without a name. The research is in the journals. The protocol is specific. The link is in the pinned comment. The only variable left is whether you use it. I have pinned a comment directly below this video with the exact product, the exact protocol, and the exact timing, written out in plain language. It is the first thing you will see when you scroll down. Everything you need is there. Do not wait.